right, Tammy, give it to us.
Right. So I put it in the chat and I just did this last week and my first stop, gas station, and I get bugles. Remember the bugles
Cheesy.
and Slim Jims.
Hell yeah.
And I will usually do like a Dr. Pepper, right?
Do
Again,
you
all
put
things that I never have any other time.
do you
Mhm.
put the bugles on your fingers and eat them off?
Pretend like they're nails.
No, because I'm focused on driving.
Oh,
So, right, I want less mess, right? Like I love some of the other things that everybody has said, but I need less mess. I can't have orange on my fingers when I'm driving, right? So it's got to be benign.
Yeah, Taylor's saying we're never letting these people travel with my child. She come back with thinking bugles are nails. I love Mark Ledbetter. Oh, honey roasted nuts and beef jerky. Holly, you could travel with Tammy.
Hmm.
Holly, we could go on and on, Carrie, but let's not. Let's talk about One Lux. Let's talk about what we're here today. Thank you and welcome to One Primetime. Actionable learning that everyone joining us today is going to be able to step out and conquer luxury. The first questions first before we do intros. Let us know how many of you are currently in the game of luxury in your market. You're participating, you're a member of One Lux, you're using the tools, the resources, because if you're not, we're going to find out why and we're going to find out how to get you there. So, if we could, who wants to intro first? Who would like to tell us who you are and why you're here? Amanda, how about you?
So I am the head of the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing. We are partners with the One Lux program and so pleased to be that. The Institute is a training and membership organization. For those of you who don't know, a training and membership organization for agents working in the upper tier of the market. And we also are the home of the CLHMS designation, Certified Luxury Home Marketing Specialist. And that is the highest earning designation in all of residential real estate. And that designation shows proof of production that you are a luxury agent. It's a little bit about
That's
me.
fantastic because we've got a lot of people, and some of them that I love dearly, like Jonathan Wolf is they're selling luxury. They're not necessarily using the assets. So we appreciate the partnership that we have and we look forward. And now Tammy, let's hear from you. Tammy's our guest
Yeah.
speaker today. Here's what we're going to do. She loves disruption. She loves interruption. So several of us are going to be in the chat line answering your questions. Please participate. Let us know your questions. Tammy, now tell us about you and we'll get going.
Absolutely. I am so excited to be here to talk about breaking into the luxury market. And I just think that it's a fantastic opportunity to talk about blueprints for success in the top tier. So as far as me, I'm the Institute's lead trainer, and I've been with the Institute for 20 years now. I'm the co-host of our Estate of Mind podcast, and I help provide ongoing content to our members through webinars and masterminds all year long, in addition to the training. I'm a full-time real estate professional in the St. Petersburg, Florida market, with more than 20 years in the business here. And I hold the Certified International Property Specialist, the Certified Luxury Home Marketing Specialist, and the Certified Residential Specialist designation. So I can absolutely support Amanda in her talking about the CLHMS being at the top of the earning potential. So are we ready to rock and roll?
Let's go.
Let's roll.
All right, let's do it. Keep an eye on the chat. Let me know if you need to break in on anything. So I want to talk about our goal for today is to focus on some ways that you can build your business in your luxury market, whether you're in it and you want to take it to the next step, whether you're thinking about it. So we're going to start by setting some foundations about what luxury really is. And then we're going to talk about understanding wealthy individuals and then explore what's really happening in the luxury market. And I want to wrap it by talking about some key strategies for expanding your sphere of influence. So why luxury? Why now? There's some very clear advantages, I think, that you'll agree with me to working in the upper tier. So obviously, if you are dealing with more expensive transactions, then you stand to earn more. That's the work smarter, not harder aspect of things. And if you increase your price point without having to increase your volume, in my opinion, that's a win. So there's also typically fewer competitors in that luxury space Now, they're good typically, but there are fewer of them. And there's also a great sense of satisfaction. I kind of joke about the fact that I work in a variety of price points in my marketplace. And I learned early on that if you have to show two different price points of property in the same day, right, you should always show the lesser expensive one first, or else you're not going to have anything nice to say about it after you've seen the $1 million property. I learned this from experience, right?
Makes sense.
But I think perhaps the most important concept is that the upper tier is historically less impacted by ordinary economic factors like interest rates, right? That we hear incessantly. So I think first, it's really important to understand that luxury is market specific. You'd probably agree with me that your dollars buy you something entirely different in Toledo than in Beverly Hills, right? Of course, that's true. So for the Institute, particularly for the Certified Luxury Home Marketing Specialist designation, there has to be some sort of benchmark, right? Just like One Luxe has a benchmark. So for the Institute, for the designation, we consider that to be roughly the 90th percentile of properties sold within a county, right? Everything is based on the location of the property. So in my market, for example, luxury is $690,000. However, if you go a couple of hours south in Naples, that threshold is 1.65 million, right? So in every market, luxury is subjective, right? And truly, I think that it's important to understand that luxury, not only is it market specific, it's not necessarily about price point, it's a level of service. So we spend a lot of time in our training talking about the attributes and sometimes the misperceptions of the wealthy. Having an understanding of their mindset is really important in terms of putting your mindset in the right space. It's interesting to take a step back and think about what wealth means to people, right? There was a study by Harris Poll for Fast Company that reported some 68%, nearly 70% of Americans define wealth in terms of comfort and basic necessities, as opposed to extravagance and excess. So only 11% defined wealth as being able to afford extravagant purchases. That's one of the important parts of understanding the mindset. And then here's a really important point. There is more new money than old money in the US. People who didn't inherit their wealth, but who earned it in their lifetimes. And then if you take that one step further, not only do they have to learn how to be wealthy, but the length of time that they have had a significant level of wealth totally plays into their priorities and their spending habits. So in the class, we do a much deeper dive into this. But for today, I just want you to think about the fact that they don't all behave in the same ways. Understanding this can really help you be in the right mindset to provide that higher level of service that we just talked about. Now, there are lots of resources that you can get your hands on for understanding the wealthy. For our training materials, we look to sources like WealthX, Knight Frank, Capgemini, Henley and Partners that give us accurate current information on who the wealthy are, where they are, and what their priorities are. So any of you can download these reports from their websites. And I have a Google alert that's set up for data on the wealthy that I can constantly see if there's a new report coming out, that sort of thing. So for those of you that are data wonks, you may want to check out those sources. But that's where we're sourcing our material for our trainings. Now, we firmly believe that you don't need to live the same lifestyle as our wealthy clients in order to be successful, but you do need to understand the amenities and the features that are important to them. And so if we're not expected to live the same lifestyle and we don't have these kinds of things in our home, we have to take the time to educate ourselves about them. So I think a great resource is home magazines, right? That gives you the opportunity to learn about the top brands. You can see trends that go from the top of the market all the way down to the consumer level, like wine storage. You go from huge cavernous wine cellars with tasting rooms all the way down to the wine fridge under the counter. So really interesting to watch those trends. And you can also learn about the vendors who install or service them. So you can also go visit showrooms, design showrooms, ask them about the latest and greatest features and what's trending, right? They are glad to spend time with you because you have clients that they want. They have clients that you want, right? It's a win-win kind of situation. So you can also follow blogs and online articles. So always just be looking for ways to build your knowledge. And later, when we talk about growing your sphere of influence, this is also something that I want to point out, that every moment that you spend investing in your education gives you an opportunity for a touch point, right? So let's say you know that you have a client who's a wine enthusiast. So as you're following Wine Spectator or something like that, if you come across something interesting, it's a perfect opportunity to actually reach out and share that with the folks in your database to say, hey, Kathy, I know that you enjoy your wine storage and that's a big deal. And I saw this neat feature. Have you seen this yet? It's a perfect touch point.
You
And
know,
that's
I love that. I hate to interrupt, but I love the fact
that's
that you're
great.
talking about it's okay if you don't live in that world, but just kind of,
Absolutely.
because I think that's a big hold back for some people because they feel like maybe they're not worthy, for lack of a better term. But I
Yeah.
love just things like I love going to showrooms and looking at that. How would it be to set Google alerts for wine tasting or things like that, that then you could, I was just, my mind is just racing
Yeah.
thinking of things you could do to touch. And I know you'll get to that in sphere of influence, but
Yeah.
so that you're aware of what's going on so that you're working proactively rather than reactively. I love that.
Absolutely. And
Love that.
you can drill down in that way in any capacity, right? So if you work in a waterfront market, if you work in an equestrian market, any of those types of things, you can drill down, and Google Alerts are a super easy way to get that information ahead of time. And we also believe that every dollar that you spend and every minute that you spend investing in your business should be leveraged. And so those touch points with clients are really, really important. So another resource that all of you can take advantage of in staying on top of the market and trends like that is the Institute's Luxury Insights blog, right? I tell people in the training, we are never going to argue about whether quartz is better than granite. But there are lots of reasons to stay up on top of that, right? So look for those opportunities. So anybody snap a picture of this slide if you want to subscribe for free because it's available to all of you. So it's the Luxury Insights blog. And then we also have a podcast. I'm partial to it because, of course, I'm the co-host. It's called A State of Mind. And you all have an opportunity. You can follow this you can subscribe for free, play it on any of the main platforms. So just small doses of when you're driving in your car, if you're walking your dog or taking a run or something, these are perfect opportunities, whether it's A State of Mind or some other podcast that fuels you up, to just have little doses of education, enlightenment, a new idea, a new thought. So think about that as an opportunity. So now I want to talk a little bit about understanding the luxury market. Right? The last couple of years have seen some really dramatic changes in the marketplace, right? That's no joke. And even in the last year, gosh, I think every year has a dramatic shift from the year before. It used to be that we had longer spells of quote unquote normalcy, and now we're just, the next thing is coming at us. And so taking the time to be better educated really gives you the opportunity to seize those opportunities, right? So that sky is falling thing in the major media messaging, which I absolutely hate because they love to talk about the real estate market, that one, the market. The messaging is absolutely bleak right now. So sales are down, prices are dropping, homes are taking longer to sell, right? They're creating a panic in the air. But if you take a step back and see how you can follow data that gives you a better sense of how your market area and the price segments in it are performing, that's going to really set you apart. I was on a phone call earlier today with clients who were referred to me that want to buy in the $2 to $5 million condo market. And so they were asking me these general questions. And I said, well, it all depends. Let's talk about the different products and the different nuances of those things. And they said, we've heard that your market in general is definitely a buyer's market. And I said, well, let's talk about the places that are and the places that aren't and the places in between. And they said, oh, that's really, really insightful. We hadn't thought about it that way. So that's what I want to talk about here right now. So this is a look back to the last time that the market, the real estate market in general, was normal, right? This is statistical evidence of how the luxury market performs. So this chart is data from the National Association of Realtors, and they produce this every month. This was March of 2020, right? Remember that time? Kathy, we were actually talking about that, right? And it was comparative. So this data that they release is comparative year over year data. And so this is March 2020 compared to March 2019. So keep in mind that this was the last month's data before we could fully see the impact of the pandemic shutdowns, right? And so look at the year over year percentage change in sales based on price range. So they break the US market into price bands and then regions. So, grain of salt, sales in the lowest price points are almost always reflective of low inventory and simply lack of modestly priced homes. So, that's always got to have a grain of salt. But then, if you look as the price point goes up here, you can see that there's strong growth, year over year growth, with the exception of the West, which in this particular instance, those states had the earliest shelter in place orders. So, their market had hit a wall, right? And so the data at the bottom shows the distribution of all the existing home sales for the previous 12 months. And I want you to notice that the $1 million plus properties at this time was 3% of all of the existing home sales nationwide, right? Keep that in mind. Then we fast forward a year later, right? So this was right in the middle of the crazy. Right? I'm going to go back one because I want you to get the gist here. You can see we've got negative numbers in the lower price points, and it starts to increase as you go up. And really, if you're in the double digit positive growth, that's just really fantastic, right? So then have a look here, right? Take another closer look. Look at that $1 million price range. 27% increase year over year, 220% year over year, right? This was madness, right? Absolute madness. So you can see where that gain continues to play in the upper tier. And so in this point, you had people who had the means to take action when the rest of the country was frozen in place, right? And these are just, I'm so nerdy about this information because it really tells us a lot. So then here's 2022, just before the market shifted, right? Now, the upper price points were still outperforming the prior year, but think about this, right? Think about what we're comparing to. 220% year over year. There's no way that we can get back to that. So even in this case, in the South, 29.4% year over year gains equals 252% increase in sales from 2020. That's insane to think about, right? And the share, look at what has happened to the share of $1 million plus sales, 8%, right? So we went from 3 to 8. So really important things to think about. Now, then you shift a year later, right? Remember, this was when the sky was really falling, 23 compared to 22. That's when everybody was having a little wake up call. And despite the visual of those year over year losses, think about what it's comparing to, right? What I just showed you. And so this data is more realistic in a year over year, even trying to catch up with those insane prices from before. All right. So here we are today. Right? This is existing home sales activity from January 26 as compared with January of 25. Now, we've been having a nice little steady, not great, but a little steady performance through the year. So this was actually a little slide back, but you still continue to see improvement as the price point increases, right? And the $1 million plus market was the only one that had positive year over year gains in the Midwest and the South. Right? Historically, the price bands above 500,000 perform better than those under that. And we expect that to continue as the market normalizes, right? This is part of our why. Why luxury, right? Because it tends to outperform. Now, this is also a current snapshot. So homes that are priced at $500,000 and up account for just over 31% of total existing home sales for the last 12 months across the country, right? Essentially a little less than a third of the properties. And then $1 million plus properties are 7.5% for the last 12 months, right? Now, keep in mind that in the data you saw in that 2020 slide, that percentage was 3%. So this is reflecting significant price appreciation as well as increased demand for those higher priced properties. And so even though it seems, when you look at it analytically like this, it seems like a small segment, which our luxury sellers need to understand because they're sure that million-dollar homes grow on trees, it's a historically strongly performing segment. So I really want you to keep an eye on that. Yes, Kathy, I see you with
I
a
was
question.
just going to ask you, could we pause and ask if people on the call, because we had several people participating in luxury, are you seeing this reflection in your local market, or have you even looked? I'd just like to pause and see, are people saying, wow, this is a surprise, or wow, this is what we're experiencing?
I'd love to see.
Yeah, so let's see what everyone's saying.
So Bill had a question, is this reflecting volume, transactions, price? So it is it is percentage of transactions within price bands. So kind of all of those things. Yes.
You know, Diane, I had heard that last week. I talked with our broker Gary Carlson in Denver, and he was saying this. Logan, you're in Charlotte, North Carolina, so you're seeing this too. Wow. Anybody else? We've kind of got some great markets represented. Would love to know. Utah, there you go.
Yeah. Yep. Hot
San
Pockets.
Francisco.
Daniel's got Hot Pockets. Wait, that should be on the list of snack food,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Albeit that they're kind of messy.
Can I just tell you, if there's somebody I'd love to do a road trip with, it is Mr. Dan Wilson, and that's all I'll say. He would probably make me
Okay.
pedal a bike. He'd probably make me pedal a bike, so I'm not sure about it, but there you
Oh
go.
boy. Yeah. 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 That's funny. And you know, it is entirely hyper local. And I think
Okay.
that's one of my points, right? Is so instead of paying attention to big numbers, pay attention to things that are really reflective of the price ranges that you're working in, right? And help educate your clients that what they're reading in the major media messaging may be different when it drills down to a different price point, or as Daniel was saying, certain areas, maybe it's neighborhoods. And there can be so many factors that play into one segment performing differently than another. This is where we set ourselves apart, is understanding those nuances, right? Instead of, right, like I know we can all hit the CMA button, and that's
Yeah.
not good enough, right? If you hit the CMA button and you're interviewing for a luxury listing, you're going to walk in and you're going to see 6 other CMAs that look exactly like yours with a different headshot on the front, right? So your understanding of the market and of conditions and how it relates to the properties that you're that can absolutely be a game changer for you, even if you are just breaking in, right? Because it shows that you're trying to be you're a little more hungry to understand the data better, right? Instead of just relying on averages and CMAs. So yeah.
While we're paused, Laura, do you mind putting the addresses for the blog and for the podcast in? Because I think people didn't quite get that screenshotted, and I didn't either. And if you could put that in, we had a couple of requests for that. So thank you.
Yes, those are already in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty, because Laura's quick, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So there's another resource that you have through the Institute that I think will help you as you focus your mindset on understanding that luxury market. And this is our luxury market report it's a monthly production that covers all of North America. Right now, all of you can go to the Institute's website and you can download it in a PDF. And you can use this to kind of supplement your materials when you're talking with individuals in the upper tier about how the luxury market is performing, kind of in a metro level. And so you still have to do the understanding of your hyper local market, but this is a beautiful supplemental piece. And it covers market conditions and trends that are relevant for an increasingly global luxury consumer. I like to use this to stay front and center with the folks in my sphere of influence that own luxury property, as opposed to treating it as something that you only dust off when you're going on a presentation to win. So in addition to that broad review, this report separates single family homes and attached properties, right? Like condos or co-ops if you have them in your marketplace. And then within individual markets, they're going to give established luxury benchmark prices and a detailed survey of active and sold properties from real time, right? So send this to your sphere of influence that have an active interest in the luxury market conditions, right? It is beautiful. And my favorite part about it is that it is done, right? I'm one of those, I always have a great idea of some new project, some new report that I want to develop, and it never quite gets done. So this is absolutely ready. It's a really, really powerful tool. And it breaks apart more than 150 markets across North America that have concentrations of luxury property. And I zoomed in on one part of the report for you to see, like when we talk about is it a seller's market, buyer's market, balanced? So being able to look at other markets. So for example, in mine, South Pinellas County, it's a seller's market right now in the luxury arena, right? Where if you look Sarasota just below us, it's a buyer's market. So the difference in 1 hour movement can make a significant difference in the health of a market. And I think it's important for us to know that. So another thing that is useful about this, going back to that price banding concept that we talked about with the NAR statistics. So this is a snapshot of the single family home market in my area. And so this illustrates the importance of staying away from averages and really drilling down to individual price points. So this is starting the benchmark in my area starting at 850, and this is rolling all the way up at the top to 6.1 million plus, right? And so the black bars are inventory, and the gold bars, right? And I didn't color coordinate this just for you. It was happened that way. The gold bars are sales. So you can see visually where the sweet spots are in marketplaces, and you can also use it to help educate folks, right? So I just did a pull out there. So between 2.2 and 2.6 million dollars, there are 37 sellers, right? And there was only one real buyer in their market area compared to 32 real buyers who purchased between the $1 and $2 million mark, right? And way up in that rare air, there's 29 properties listed for more than $6 million and one sale. So this can be very eye-opening when you put it in this graphical way. So I think the big takeaway that I want to share with you is the importance of understanding what's happening by different price bands. It's really going to equip you to be better prepared to engage thoughtfully with your potential clients and your sphere of influence. So speaking of sphere of influence, so I want to talk a few minutes about the importance of expanding your sphere of influence, right? Surrounding yourself with people who also have a luxury mindset, right? So think about who the wealthy trust, right? And I want you to go back to the concept that these folks are often self-made, successful business people, entrepreneurs, right? They didn't gain wealth by spending willy-nilly, right? They make smart business decisions. And that's the difference between, for example, wealth is different than a high salary, right? There's a term for that gets used now, the Henrys, high earners, not rich yet. I'll say that one more time. High earners, not rich yet. The Henrys, they are great for us because they will spend on a dime, right? Like they will spend immediately. They earn well and they spend it immediately, right? But wealthy individuals are those that have actually saved some. So we have to think about who the wealthy trust. And definitely at the top of that field is their financial advisors, private bankers, trust officers, and so on. So I think it's important to put yourself in spaces where you can build relationships with these folks. So chambers of commerce, business associations, other professional networking organizations, so that you can build relationships with these types of individuals. Now, it's important that you offer them something, right? Because just exchanging a business card doesn't immediately put you in their Rolodex as a resource. But if you provide them with information about your local market area that they can then share with their clients, that makes them look good, you stay top of mind, and then you have the opportunity to build those relationships, right? Build trust, earn referrals. And the more that you can learn from them about the priorities of their clients in your marketplace, the better prepared you're going to be to provide the level of service that they expect, right? And this whole idea of expanding your sphere of influence with the folks that have connections to wealthy individuals who would be good clients, it's endless. Right?
Yep.
It's absolutely endless. And so I think about all the opportunities, everything, even interior designers, right? Architects, custom builders. My gosh, if you really sit down and brainstorm, there is no end to the list of people who are interacting with people who you want to generate their business.
Right. Would you recommend like almost a networking group that you meet on a basis for this high network people working with high network worth? And the thing I love about this is they may also be people that don't live that way.
Exactly.
Right? So you're going
Exactly.
to have a lot in common with them. Where does generational wealth fall in that? I mean, if
Oh,
you're, I mean,
that is, it's
because you
playing a
look at the
huge
Henrys, by the way, I love that Henry. I want to be a Henry. But the Henry, you look at that and then you look at wealthy. So I've been watching The Gilded Age. So, I'm like top of
Yes.
mind with all this. And because they talk so much about old money and new money in there. So where's generational wealth in there?
Well, generational wealth is about to rock the world.
Yep.
Right. So there is a part in the course where we talk, like I say, we drill deeper on the attributes of the wealthy and all of that sort of thing. And then I say everything that we just talked about is about to change
Okay.
because we're on the cusp of the largest intergenerational wealth transfer that has ever happened. And it's largely concentrated in the US. So let me tell you that all of the financial advisors, everybody in these professional services is paying close attention to what changes are going to happen, particularly in the attitudes and the attributes, right? So, for example, there is an awful lot of intergenerational wealth that's being passed on before someone dies, right? So these are entrepreneurs, they've built a legacy, they bring in the adult children, they give them portions of wealth, a lot of nuances. Sometimes there's tax benefits, ramifications, there's all sorts of strategy behind when and how someone transfers their wealth.
If I can pause right now, I
Yeah.
want everybody on the call right now to pay attention to this because I think this is the nugget. I think this is the nugget that you need to be proactive and get ahead of because if you haven't been in the luxury market, you may or may not get this may be the window or the doorway that's opening. So Tami, thank you for letting me
Absolutely.
have talk.
Yeah. And
But I
and and
think this
so I'll dig a little deeper there. You're going to see people all of a sudden inheriting wealth that didn't have it before because our previous generations were pretty good savers. And some of us, myself in particular, are pretty darn surprised at the nest eggs that are ending up for us. So one of the things that people are really paying attention to in those financial services industries, all of the support, the private banking, estate industries, all of that is what is the behavior going to be like, right? And so largely we're seeing so far that people with inherited wealth are reinvesting. And so there's this whole new group of individuals who are partly inherited wealth and partly earned wealth because they take enough of their assets to leverage new entrepreneurial opportunities, right? Startups, that sort of thing, that then become wildly successful. And all of a sudden, the self-made wealth eclipses even what was the inherited portion. And a lot of people are watching behaviors. And so far, what we're seeing is that there's a huge trend with younger high net worth individuals who are looking at their portfolios as a whole. I see Audrey saying younger and
Yeah.
financially prudent, right? But in other ways too, they are very concerned about the impact that their wealth is going to leave on the environment, right? Sustainability, responsible investing. There's a lot of different triggers that are coming into play. So let me go back, Kathy, to what you were talking about of interacting with these individuals. So I don't know that necessarily trying to create a networking group of all these individuals is something like they've got a lot of opportunities. But for me, what I've found is getting involved in my business community, right? Or organizations that already exist. I belong to a business women's group that has all sorts of different professionals that fall into these categories. I'm active in my chamber of commerce. And so if you put yourself in a position to meet these people, then developing those relationships one-on-one, right? Let's go for coffee. I have some interesting data on the wealthy that might be impactful to your clients, right? There has to be a reason. It's not just a business card exchange, but then I will tell you that 100% of my business that isn't repeat or referral is from my community networking, my professional networking and involvement, right? So it's a powerful, powerful spot to be. But one place where I do think that you can explore networking groups is actually my next slide. And that is the relationships between your peers, right? Participating in luxury groups in your marketplace, right? We've got strength in our brands, but we also have a great deal of strength in cross brand communication. And I will tell you that that's where I have found also that the custom builders are participating. It's not just the realtors that are coming to these. If they're effective. Now, I'm not talking about your regular pitch, right? I would be hard pressed to attend a regular pitch in an ordinary price point, but there was a group that was established in my area led by some very productive, well respected luxury agents. And I got a phone call one day and they said, "We're starting this group and would you pretty please come, even just once?" And so I went because I got a pretty please. And then I found that it was a room full of engaged, eager, professional luxury agents. And we learn from each other. We share openly. We've brought in specialty insurance providers, right? Specialty loan products that can help wealthy individuals bridge certain areas or just resources that are very specific to the upper tier. And I will tell you that I met my general contractor there. I'm in the middle of a remodel project, and also I have referred him to a number of people, but I was able to have an authentic engagement with him and his company through this type of group, and it built trust and caused me to move forward. So I think that it's really important for us to engage with our peers within our own marketplaces. And then I think it's super important. You guys will probably echo this. Get out of town. Get out of town at least once a year. Go participate in your brand conferences, right? Luxury specific conferences. There's all sorts of things, and build those relationships with other real estate professionals around the globe, particularly around the country, in your feeder markets. This is incredibly powerful, and it's a huge piece of your pipeline of revenue stream. And I will tell you that if you're sending a referral cross country or cross state or cross county in the luxury space, you want to have faith that the person that you are sending to knows what they're doing, and that you know who they are. Right. So really important thing. And there's a whole nother paradigm going on in there, but it's really important to build those relationships, right? Your sphere of influence. And quite honestly, what I have found is that it all snowballs naturally. The more that you focus on building your sphere of influence with appropriate individuals, the more that snowballs, and the referrals will come to you. And that's an important thing. So I think the time that you invest in being better educated and connected is going to keep you in a luxury mindset. So I hope that you're going to take away some tips and perhaps even just some reminders of things that you should be doing from our time together today that's going to help you take your business to the next level. And so I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to talk about the Institute's training and the opportunities that you have from here, right? So for those of you that aren't familiar with the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing, the training that we offer is the first step towards earning the certified luxury home marketing specialist. But all of our members have access to incredible tools and resources, right? This is not just completing a class and getting a certificate, right? And you also don't have to be already producing in the upper tier in order to take the training. That's a common misperception. So I want to address that too. If this is something that you're aspiring to do, this is absolutely open to you, and it can be absolutely a cornerstone in your business plan. So in the training, we drill deeper on some of the things that we've talked about today, how to evaluate market trends, to anticipate what's coming. Kathy, like you said, that wealth transfer, staying ahead of things instead of just being reactive. And so that type of understanding of the market that provides values to buyers and sellers of upper tier real estate, how to understand the mindset of luxury consumers. So you're going to learn how to position yourself as an expert at marketing high-end real estate, marketing yourself at that next level, and a lot more. And there are multiple opportunities for you with Realty ONE Group to get special pricing for the various options of training. So we have an upcoming live stream training that I'll be delivering on May 20th. So if you all want to take a snapshot of that QR code, I'll make sure that I leave it up longer than I did the URLs, because that's going to give you preferred pricing. There is also self-paced training online. So there's a full online version that is a studio recording of me delivering the material. You can do that at your own pace. And also there's an advanced online version for those of you that are producing in the upper tier already and really are after earning the designations. There's an advanced option there. And I see that Laura has put the link for the Realty ONE Group training options in the chat. So as I mentioned, a full year of Institute membership is included in the training fee that gives you access to all the tools and the resources to implement what you're learning in the course. In fact, they did a little math and it's over $7,000 worth of benefits, right? Which is pretty amazing. So
Wow.
I think, yeah, it's a surprising thing. So lots of tools. It's not just the principles, it's here's the tools to carry them forward. And I'm going to let Laura answer that question about the fee after the training. But there's definitely time for Q&A, and I love the opportunity to drill a little deeper. So Kathy, I'm sure you've got something for me to dig in on.
Well, I'm gonna bring Taylor in and let Taylor address
Perfect.
some things. How about that?
Tami, thank you for an amazing presentation. I always love listening to you.
Thank
And I
you.
love it being able to attend the training over and over again. You pick up different nuggets. And that's what's so great when you do become a member of the Institute. You have access into their dashboard. I don't think enough of our Lux members use it. But you have access to the recorded training. You have access to ongoing training. They bring in expert negotiators. They bring in expert stagers. And you can really elevate your career and learn a lot with the Institute. And that's why we chose to partner with them. So our ONE Luxe program is a luxury marketing and certification program that's offered at the national and the brokerage level that anyone can be a part of. How you join ONE Luxe is first going through our trusted training partner and taking the training with the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing. Tami just showed you how you can take that training. You can do the live session, you can do the online session. There's tons of different ways depending on your learning style and your time commitment. Complete that training and notify our help desk that you've completed the training with your certificate that you get. We enable the ONE Luxe access inside of the Realty ONE Group ecosystem. So what that enables is branding. Inside of Creative Studio, it'll unlock, I don't know, like 10 new folders and subfolders of branding for your business. You can change out your website to give it a luxury look and feel, right? Attracting your niche audience and making it localized to your specialty. You can get new business cards, postcards, flyers, market reports that are all luxury branded. And then on the property side, when you're using ONE Luxe, you're going to use it based on qualifying properties. So how to figure out what property and price tier is qualifying within your county. It's typically 2.5 times the median price within the county, but I would always verify with your broker, owner, or manager. If a property qualifies, then you'll be able to use the ONE Luxe branding on anything associated with that property. With that, we also have access to an exclusive network of over 1,000 ONE Luxe certified. Most of them, I'm really proud to say, most of our ONE Luxe members are also CLM qualifying, meaning they earn the designation, hitting 3 properties within 24 months in the top 10% in their market. And about 10 to 15% are guild or higher. So they have the higher designations within the Institute. So that just says that the training works. Once you walk away with your business plan and once you apply it and you utilize the niche marketing that's offered through our program in a strategic way, it will work for you. Stick to the plan and it will pan out.
Taylor, there's a question in the chat that I can answer if that's okay to break in on you. So Sherry's asking, is the certification nationwide or state specific? And if you're licensed in multiple states, how does that work? So the certification is globally recognized, right? And so it stays with you. And if you work more than one state, absolutely. You can even use sales from different states to qualify. It's all about where the property is located. But yeah, this is a broad scale, I would say industry specific or industry recognized benchmark standard.
So it stays with you, the agent, wherever you go. That's good. I didn't know the details of that question. I do know a follow-up similar kind of question is if you're part of a team, the designation is individualized. So one person qualifies, the whole team is not luxury certified. You need to do it at the individual agent license level.
And that's correct, Taylor, except for the fact that if you work with a partner or you work as part of a team, we'll give you credit for transactions that you were the principal on. You don't have to have, let's say if it was co-listed, you don't get half of the transaction.
It'll help you qualify.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Incredible stuff. Who's in? Who wants to know more? Taylor, what should be the follow-up? Register for the class or what should we do here?
Yeah, register for the class. The next one is May 28th. This year, what we're doing is we have quarterly classes. The whole schedule's in the One Resource Guide. Just click on to support, ask Roger what the schedule is for 2026. It'll give it to you. And we're also doing quarterly webinars like this. In January, we did a year-end review and took a look at the 2025 luxury year-end report and really dove deep into that. And they gave away a free a download to help you share that with your network. This quarter, we've had Tami on the One Primetime. You can look forward to additional free training provided through Realty ONE Group in partnership with the Institute throughout the year quarterly.
And
Thank you.
I want to thank you for having me today. It is always so fun to be with you, and I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone who participated. Great questions, great engagement.